Welcome back to the Morning Show here on the Rise News. I am Adesa Omoran, and happy holidays.
And I'm Rafai saying happy holidays. Great to have you back. Miss you so much on Friday.
I know, right?
Felt so incomplete without you.
It's great to be back with you, Rafai. Yeah. The internet has provided the opportunity for many online activities. One of these is education.
More and more students now have access to online education due to availability of courses and certification, thus giving rise to a continuous growing trend in online education across the globe.
Well, many reasons account for the increasing growth of online courses and programs. For some students, it is cost-effective and time-saving. Also, they are still able to maintain their work schedule while completing their educational goals in the corner of their apartment. However, some school of thought believe that the demand for more educational courses is enough reason for institutions to develop or increase online course offerings.
Joining us now to discuss the increase in online education in Nigeria is Olamidun Majekodunmi, the country director of Nextford University. But before we begin our chat, let's take a look at this video clip.
I personally was attracted to NXU once I learned of our keen interest in the Nigerian market. Nigeria is home for me, and I'm a key patriot of our development, and I know how much we need solutions like Nextford University in our education sector. What I would like to change about education is the segregation between good education and what everyone else gets. I don't like the fact that the quality of your education is dependent on how much money you're willing to pay for it. Because of my education, my confidence as an individual has significantly increased. I've been able to develop a mastery of a certain topic area, and I can stand in front of anyone and defend my knowledge and also defend my decision making. My background, I am a business school graduate, and throughout the duration of my working career, I've been an entrepreneur. I founded the Performing Arts School of Nigeria. I've also served as a strategy and operations higher education consultant. What I bring to NXU is my very strong passion for education and its accessibility worldwide. I also have a very keen interest on the development of emerging markets, particularly sub-Saharan Africa. There are two major issues that are close to my heart right now, and those are the poor literacy rates and the lack of upward mobility in our region. And the statistics are staggering, and what they essentially say is that if you're born in a particular socio-economic class, there's a likelihood that you will be trapped in here for the rest of your life due to inequalities of opportunities out there. If I could sum up NXU in one word, I would say we are progressive. With such high unemployment rates, it is more important now than ever for universities to really prepare students to be entrepreneurs in order to create the employment opportunities of the future. Nextford serving the Nigerian market at this time is very key. We do understand all the infrastructural challenges Nigerian students face. Going through an online program, we understand that power supply is often limited and unreliable. We also
All right, still on the Morning Show, the Rise News, and we've got Olamidun Majekodunmi, the country director of Nextford University. So we'll begin our chat and we talk about this. Online education. Is Nigeria ready for it?
Absolutely. We're more ready than we've ever been. So it's a very unique period for us right now. If you look at data penetration rates, if you look at the need for higher education, right, and the demand for higher education right now, it's the perfect time for us to scale up on online education.
So it is safe to say that we're experiencing a sort of boom in online education in Nigeria. What exactly is fueling this? And I mean, it is changing traditional education, but does that not put a caveat on the quality of education received online?
So there's a number of things fueling this, and I'll highlight two major ones. One is a shortage of university seats, right? In Nigeria in particular, we're only able to cater to about 40% of the demand right now. There's a shortage of about 750 million university seats. So there's that demand that's not being met, right? With online, there's no cap to how many students you can cater to and cater to at a particular quality, right? So there's students you're able to take on and give them higher quality education more than you could in a traditional university. So that's one. And then secondly is flexibility. Students students are looking for more flexibility in their lifestyle. No one wants to, stop what they're doing, completely change your life. There's so many opportunity costs by going to a traditional university. So if you're looking at online programs, you can continue with your particular lifestyle. You can keep working and earning wages while you're earning your degree at the same time.
I'm excited you talk about flexibility, but another thing people look at really is the quality.
The caveats I was talking about.
Yeah. A lot of people think online is such a joke.
Yeah.
People don't take online degrees seriously.
Yeah, which is really interesting, right? And I'll tell you why that's a myth. Right? With traditional universities, they're set in their ways, right? They have very legacy approaches. I'll tell you, most of the universities that we see today haven't changed the way that they teach, haven't changed their content, haven't changed their curriculum in decades, right? With online universities, we are more nimble, right? You can continuously refresh your methodology, you can continuously refresh your curriculum, which is what Nextford University does. We're always changing, we're always evolving based on what employers are looking for, right? So what employers are looking for in the workplace 5 years ago is different from what they're looking for today and what they'll be looking for in another 5 years. Traditional universities can't keep up with that, right? Because you literally have to throw away all your textbooks, change out your instructors, and it's very expensive. It's impossible, right? But with online universities, the quality is much better because you're looking at very current information and you're able to teach based on what employers need, based on what the workplace is demanding.
But there are those who will argue against that and say, they do not agree with you because they feel that online programs or degrees or mode of education damages the goal of traditional universities when it comes to the social experience, the liberal arts education of writing, speaking, interacting with your colleagues, your mates, your professors, your teachers. You go through the school and the school goes through you. It's not there, it's missing.
Right,
do you agree?
Right, absolutely. So I would say this is the world that we live in. It's the world, it's the future, right? In about another 20 years, remote jobs will rival traditional standard-place jobs. What that means is there's going to be more remote jobs than office jobs, right? So the world is gravitating towards where you need to be independent. You need to have a global mindset, right? You need to be able to work with colleagues all over the world, not just colleagues that are sitting with you face-to-face, right? And so with online education, it gives you that discipline, right? It gives you that fresh start. It gives you that, what you're going to be looking at in another few years when you actually go into the workplace, So it gives you that training early on because that's just the future of the world that we live in.
Because when we even look at online education, it's not as though it has never been. It has been, but the form has just changed. I mean, the likes of the Obafemi Awolowo's of this world did their law degrees by correspondence. That's online education. Guilds, they sent the papers to them, they did the exams, and they sent it back. It's just that you have a platform now. But what a lot of people are looking at, and are looking at strongly, is even the cost of this online. Because the thing, since it's online, you should be able to limit the cost. And since you have competitions with people like them, Coursera, Udemy, and the likes of those sites, but we still get some online universities with heavy tuition, about 30,000, 40,000.
Of course.
So how do you compete effectively in that market?
So the 2 points you've raised, right, that we've always done distance learning in some way, shape, or form. Even the top universities in the world now offering online education. So you go to Harvard, you go to Stanford, all these universities have online education. So everyone has recognized that it's the future, right? And the cost, absolutely. If you're looking at an online course at Harvard, you're paying nearly as much as you would for a traditional, course at Harvard.
Why is that the case?
Because they believe the quality is the same, right? So you're getting a Harvard degree, right? Or you're getting an Ivy League degree. It doesn't say online necessarily, right? However you receive that degree, you're being taught by the same lecturers, you're being taught the same curriculum, you're being taught, somewhat in the same manner. So the value of that degree is still the same. So that's what you're paying for, right? Interestingly, with Nextford, we believe that the quality of your education doesn't have to correlate with how much you pay for it, right? So you can get high quality education, but not need to break the bank, not need to go and take, crazy loans and all of that. So, we have degrees that start from $80 a month, right? You can pay monthly. It's very flexible. And it allows graduates to empower themselves while they're going through their degree, while they're getting their program, and build on their competencies.
Earlier, you did mention discipline, and I just want to take you up on that, because another argument against online education or online degree is that it requires intense self-discipline and self-direction. How many people really have that? Even in the traditional education, it's a tug of war sometimes between the professors and the students, and then you have online. So how much of that really do you get online degrees with the students having to have that self-discipline and self-direction, and then the final output of the quality you're getting?
Right. So if I see on someone's resume that they attended an online university, I actually have more respect for them because of all the points that you just said. Yeah, because it's not easy. People think it's easy and, you just do it, you pass through it. It's not. You have to be extremely dedicated. You have to have very good time management skills. You have to have all the discipline, everything that you've mentioned. So it takes that much more time and rigor to go through an online program. And I've mentioned the quality as well. If the quality of the program that you're attending is good, you don't have any problems. You come out and you're even more refined than someone who went to a traditional university, if whether or not the quality was the same, but you're more refined because of the method, the way you went through that program. You don't have your parents calling you, you don't have teachers calling. If you don't do your assessment, then you're not going to pass, right? So you have to be self-motivated and driven to go through that sort of program.
How is it run? Is it a portal-based system, series of webinars? How do you have that interaction? How do you still have that classroom feel? Is there technology to it?
Yeah, so all
Can you take us through the popular of everything?
Of course. Now, I'm going to sell Nextford just a little bit now, because a lot of the things that you mentioned, a lot of the challenges with online education, we of course recognize this, and so we've tried to mitigate these, especially for students in sub-Saharan Africa. So one, you mentioned that they don't get that student life feel. We have Nextford socials, they have groups, they have study centers and study groups where you can have that interaction, right? That social interaction, even though your program is online, you feel, that you're connected with someone, right? So you have that physical touch. There are a few other things that you've mentioned, that we've also thought about, we've worked through, and we feel like we're able to cater to our learners, giving them what they would get with online education, but also having a more traditional feel, so they understand that they've gone through a proper degree program.
I'm just wondering, the courses that are being offered online, can they be as rigorous as those taught in the traditional class? Yeah. A lot of thoughts come to mind. I know we're going to go on a quick break, so I don't even know if you have enough time to respond to that before we go for that break. But let me just put it to you so you think about it before we get back. Okay. What sort of courses are being offered, and can we compare them to those in the traditional class? Can you really say that we're getting the same, approach, the same outcomes in the teaching methods that are applied? So we'll go on that break now, and we'll come back to hear a response to that question and many more. You're watching The Morning Show here on the Arise News channel. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News, and we're still talking online education, especially here in Nigeria. Olamidun Majekodunmi, the country director of Nextford University, is still here with us in the studios. Thank you so much for staying with us. So before the break, I was asking you perhaps the limitations when it comes to courses offered by online programs or online universities as yours. Do you think that it's still limited when you think about the traditional schools and the array of courses offered, especially the core sciences?
Right. And I'll speak from Nextford's perspective, right? So you said that the quality isn't quite there, right? And are you able to be as competitive as traditional universities? And I would say we're even more so because we started with the end in mind. Again, we know that our graduates are going to be entering the workplace, and they need to be very adequately trained, and they need to be empowered in order to do so and be above their peers, right? So our curriculum is based on employer needs, right? And the kind of projects that you do, the assessments, the cumulative, simulations at the end of the program is all based on scenarios. It's all based on workplace situations, right, that you need to do when you're actually in the workplace, you know. So that gives you that hands-on experience. It gives you those technical skills that you would need to have by the time you get into the workplace.
You've been saying one word. It's been like a recurring decimal. What the employer needs. What does the employer need, really?
Very good question. So even before we launched our programs in Nigeria, we did a lot of primary research. And that meant going to employers of tens of thousands, even millions of people around the world, right? And sitting with them face to face and asking, what do you need, essentially? And they tell us the gaps, the skills gaps that are there from fresh graduates coming into the workplace, things that they need to retrain them on, how long it takes for them to, you know.
What are those things they need to retrain them on?
More so, soft skills and hard skills. So soft skills, leadership skills, communication skills, right? Critical thinking skills. They come in and they're not self-starters. They come in and they're waiting for instructions, you know, rather than just, you know, naturally knowing what to do, or rather than taking leadership, right, and owning their own, you know, work area. So that's on the soft skill side. Even the technical skill side, things as simple as email. Being able to write an email and communicate.
So graduates in Nigeria can write email?
You'll be surprised. Emails, MS Word, right? Excel, PowerPoint. Yeah, you know, the statistics are staggering, you know, and I had these conversations face to face. There's a lot of research on it. Only 11% of Nigerian employers said graduates were adequately prepared when coming into the workplace. You know, so that's very low, right? And we're talking about things that are relatively simple, like MS Suite, right? You should know how to build a PowerPoint. You should know how to put data together in Excel and make it meaningful, right? So these are things that you're needing to retrain graduates on. They're spending, you know, another first year, 2 years.
Is it that bad? Because
it's bad.
I'm
no, think about it. No.
Hearing this.
No, think about it. You know, I use myself as an example. I was, you know, I studied in an American university, similar to Nextford, you know, getting that American education, right? And all throughout my education, even high school, college, and everything, you're using PowerPoint to build presentations. You're presenting in front of the class about topics. Anything that you do is based on a computer. You're researching daily, every single day, your assignments, everything. You're even turning in assignments, doing exams online, right? Because that's the future. You need technology, right, to be able to do these things. So, and I talked to Nigerian students. Some of my siblings went to school in Nigerian universities, and it's a completely different situation, right? Some of these guys don't even own computers. How does a graduate, you know, come out of you graduate, right, with a first degree, and you've never really done an assignment on the computer. You've never really needed to, right? So it's a completely different story. Where do you even start from? They give you a computer the first day of work, and you're not even sure what to do with it, you know, and that is the situation. It's very grave, but yes, it is that serious.
Oh, what I hear you say is there's a mismatch between the education received and employability in Nigeria. So is it right to say that perhaps this is responsible for the high unemployment rate we're seeing? Is this one of the causes, or is this the cause?
It's one of the causes. It's one of the causes, absolutely. So employability is a huge deal, right? You put a vacancy out there and you get 1,000, you know, jobs of CVs in your job box, right? One of the reasons is there's so many unemployed people. So that's why there's so much interest in this job, right? So there's such a high demand for employment, right? But secondly, you go through all of those CVs and maybe you find one person or two people, you know, just a few people, you know, that are actually qualified for the job. You know, why is that? So it's two things. It's one is the skills that they don't have. They don't have the adequate skills, right? So it's those skills that they're supposed to have gotten in the university, but they didn't quite get, right? And then secondly, unemployment rates are just staggering. And obviously there's so many other dimensions to, you know, why that is, you know, but it's those two things, absolutely, that create the situation that
So could it be the reason why expatriates are coming to fill up those roles? Because the so-called roles here are not available to Nigerians. We have expatriates constantly coming in to fill up those roles. Take, for instance, in data processing, in big data analysis, analytics, and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the future.
Yeah. I wouldn't even go as far as expatriates. Just foreign trained graduates are now competing with jobs that Nigerian trained graduates, right, are looking at. And obviously, as an employer, you look at a CV for the same job. You look at someone who went to a local university, and you look at someone who went to a foreign university. And let's be honest, that foreign trained graduate looks a bit better sometimes, depending on the university that they went to, because the skill and the quality of the education that they've received. And if it's a technical role, sort of like big data, data analytics, and all of that, we don't do so well in those in Nigeria, right? We don't have universities that are raving about their graduates from a business analytics program, So if you're foreign trained in areas where they're more advanced in those skill sets and in building those skill sets, then you're more competitive, of course, looking at jobs in Nigeria. So.
Well, there's so much Nextford can do. I mean. But let me also ask, what has been the reception like for you in the Nigerian markets?
It's amazing. So we launched in February in Nigeria, and we have hundreds of learners already, right, in that short span. And I would say our pipeline, so learners who have indicated interest or going through the application system and all of that, is close to 20,000 right now. So in that short span, we talked about demand earlier in this conversation. It is absolutely there. The time is ripe for online education. It's the future, and Nextford is absolutely seeing that in the market. We're here on a mission, right, to empower economic mobility, and we believe that mission will be fulfilled by being able to train as many graduates, right, being able to train as many youth that are looking to build their skills and enter into employment and be dutifully employed. So.
What do you do in the area of social service and public social awareness, pretty much as regards this? I know there are some universities, for instance, that engaged the National University Commission on the need for a curriculum change and change to approach at the way we do things. I mean, what do you do as regards engagement? Because we can't also leave people on the low rung of the ladder,
right,
just all alone.
Yeah, so I'd say the one thing that we do well is research and publicizing our findings, right? So doing research on what employers need, right? And then we're putting it out there for anyone to see. All universities, all students, keep these things in mind when you're deciding on what university to go to, deciding on what kind of program, and deciding on a career. We're talking about that. We're talking about economic mobility. We're talking about unemployment rates and how to change these things. So we do research very well. And publicizing it, just making the public very aware of the staggering statistics that are out there and how Nextford and other, like-minded, mission-aligned organizations are doing things to solve these issues.
And I wonder what's the most disturbing findings so far when it comes to the numbers of unemployment. Because I came across one World Bank report recently that says highly skilled young people in Africa are beginning to find themselves working for low-paying, unskilled jobs or remaining unemployed after graduation.
Yeah.
And so because there's that high level of unemployment rate, everybody turns to having a business these days.
Right.
You're a serial entrepreneur.
I am. And
you've done a lot of research. I wonder what's the most disturbing thing you found out about entrepreneurship in Nigeria? There's a report that they also, don't last.
To that question, I'll say, the first question about which statistic scares me the most, it's just hitting the head on what you just said, which is that it takes, research says it takes a graduate about 5 years to find dutiful employment, right? After 5 years on average, right? So that means for 5 years, you're doing measly jobs, right, that don't really match to your skill set. You're just trying to get by. It takes 5 years for you to be independent, to have meaningful employment, and be challenged in the workplace. So that scares me, right? And so, of course, when you're doing these measly jobs, of course, you want to follow your passion, like myself, become an entrepreneur and all of that. But Nigeria doesn't have an enabling environment for entrepreneurs. There's a lot of things that we still need to put in place to enable, but entrepreneurship excites me. It excites. I'm an entrepreneur. I try to empower other entrepreneurs.
You own a dance company.
Yes. So entrepreneurship empowers me. It doesn't scare me, right? I think it's the only way out for Nigeria's unemployment crisis. We have to empower entrepreneurs to create the jobs of the future. That is the only way. There's not enough jobs that meet the demand, right? Nigeria's population by 2050 will be almost 400 million people, right? Where these jobs don't exist. We can't create jobs fast enough to meet the demand. So it has to be entrepreneurship.
I wonder what the government has to say, the government of the day has to say to you, because you say the environment is not friendly, and they will tell you the CBN has, so many plans for unemployed people. The federal government has so many plans and schemes ongoing,
but how
and
accessible is it? right? I'm an entrepreneur. I've been a struggling entrepreneur myself, right? So, and I've looked for, enablers to support me in my business, right? And they weren't there. I've looked at, schemes that help, entrepreneurs. I've looked at even loans. Look at the interest rates, for example. Like, they're scary. They're basically going to own your business if you go anywhere near that, right? So,
by 2050, Google was doing a research recently and was talking about youth in Africa. They said by 2050, Africa is going to have the largest workforce in the world.
Yes.
We're going to have well over 250 to 500 million young people between the ages of 18 to 35.
Yep.
What's going to be the silver bullet for those to me? Because if we don't give them jobs, they'll take arms.
Yeah, exactly.
Quickly.
So real quick, I've come across that statistic. Yes, almost 1 billion people in the workplace, and that means from young to all the way old in the workforce, right? There are not enough jobs for us to empower the new up and coming, right? So it has to be entrepreneurship. We have to empower people to create jobs for the future, and that means creating a very friendly environment for them to,
Very friendly environment indeed. Thank you so much for coming on the Money Show today.
All right,
and happy holidays.
It was very positive.
All right.